What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here with some very exciting Madden 20 gameplay news. Now, as you know, most of you know by now, on May 23rd, on Thursday, we're going to get all of the gameplay news. We're going to get in-depth things that have to do with playbooks, what they've added to the gameplay, how they've cleaned and fixed up past issues with the gameplay. We're going to find all that out on Thursday, so definitely stay tuned. But we have been getting a little bit of information kind of slow fed to us over the past few weeks, but today we've got really big information that's coming from Anthony White, the guy that works on the playbooks at EA Sports. He did an interview with the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know if it's their radio show or something, but I'm going to have it linked below in the description. Very good interview, about 40 or so minutes long. He goes really in depth about his whole process of how he gets these plays in games, how he breaks down film and things like that. I've personally met Anthony. He is one of the brightest minds at EA, and this guy really does know his stuff. It's kind of unfortunate that the AI in the game isn't at the level that it needs to be for him to really execute what he wants to do with these playbooks, but I think they are slowly starting to get there. But what he really announced today, which was exciting, is that we're going to see trick plays coming back to Madden 20. This is something I've been asked about at length over the past year. He specifically mentioned the Philly special will be in Madden 20 along with the RPOs, which you already knew. I'm gonna cut to a couple of clips from the interview in a second, but I just want to explain some of the other stuff that he mentioned before we get into the Philly special. So he said, number one, which was a big thing, he said they are going to be expanding how much they update the playbooks during Madden 20. Now, they said last year that they finally had the technology to update these playbooks more throughout the year, and while we only saw them maybe do one or two playbook updates during the year and they weren't very good, they said this year, well, he said this year, that one of their main goals this year while the game is out is they want to update the playbooks a lot this year to make them realistic and what players or what these teams are running in real life. That is one of their biggest goals this year, so that is good to hear. He also talked about kind of how he goes about getting these plays in game. He said, he gets his film every Tuesday morning, and that's kind of how his process starts. He breaks down the film. When he sees new things that teams are running or things that they maybe have been running and he doesn't have in the game yet, first he has to kind of look at the AI and say, okay, is our AI at the point where we could put this in the game yet? If not, we need to make sure to invest in the AI, get it to where we can put this in the game, because we don't want to put something in the game that we know is going to be broken. And then after that, he's got to look and say, do we already have the animations captured to carry out this play? Because certain plays are going to require different animations. If they do, then he can kind of get together with his animators and draw up the play. But if not, then they have to go and actually motion capture the animation that they might need to carry out a play. So for something like a Philly special, that was something that they had to go get motion captured and had to actually invest into the game so that it could work properly, because they absolutely did want to get it in Madden 19, and that was something that they were really upset that they couldn't do. But they knew, just like with RPOs, if they rushed that into Madden 19, they wouldn't have worked properly. So I am glad that they took the extra year and made sure that they worked right before putting him into the game, which was really good. He also says, like, when he's breaking down this film, if he ever does need more insight on what he's seeing about some of these new concepts that are popping up, he can reach out to current and former coaches to have them further break things down. And I already knew this, but I don't think a lot of people do. They do work very closely with coaches, coordinators, both past and present, and also players past and present. And they bring them in, and these people help them with the plays and the concepts and making sure that it is being simulated in game as accurate to real life as possible, which is really good to know. He also talks about how they change playbooks to fit new coaches. He said that he studies what types of offenses or defenses the coach ran wherever he's been, what kind of other coordinators that he's worked with and kind of taken things from, and they try to map out what they think a playbook will look like under the new coaching staff. And then as they play in the season, of course, the playbook will get adjusted over the years as they see exactly, what type of stuff that these coaches are running with their new team. So specifically, he mentioned Cliff Kingsbury, who is now the Cardinals head coach, and he was big with the air raid stuff at Texas Tech. And he said, although we've seen some air raid stuff in the NFL already, some of that stuff, minor things like that are in the game. He's going to be expanding upon that with the Cardinals playbook. And he said that the Cardinals playbook is going to look a lot like what you saw at Texas Tech. And you might see a little bit of Oklahoma stuff mixed in there because that's where Kyler Murray came from. And of course, things that he's comfortable running, your new coach is going to make sure that that stuff is implemented into his new offense as well. But he also said because of how much they're going to be updating the playbooks this year, he said they're going to be paying very close attention from like the preseason up until week 1, so that their first playbook update, they're going to really be paying close attention to these teams that have new coaches like the Cardinals, so that they can be, updating and getting things into those playbooks to make them as accurate as possible to real life to start the Madden 20 year. And then as the year progresses, they're going to keep trying to update and, just build them out to make them, the things you're seeing in real life that you could see and use in game, which is great. He also said that they still work with John Madden regularly, which is something a lot of people, even myself, didn't, really know. He said that Madden is still very involved in the game, not on a day-to-day basis, but he's a lot more involved than people think he is, and they meets with him, and they talk X's and O's and talk about the game a lot, and he does have a lot of input on it, which is really good. So now I'm gonna cut to this first clip where he talks about the Philly special, kind of how he got in the game, how it works, and all that, and then I'll see you back in a second.
So with it, a play that I think Eagles fans would be interested in is we actually have the Philly special. That's actually up and running in Madden 20. The interesting thing about the Philly special play, well, it's such a unique play, and it has all these elements that are very well known, that when you see all of those actions taking place to the quarterback, the way he lines up in the gun or the pistol formation, if you will, he walks up to the line of scrimmage, taps the tackle on the backside, and then the ball gets snapped, and then the reverse and the throw. All of that's recreated in the game. But then, me and my engineer and my animator, we were sitting back and we were thinking, well, every time you play is cool, but every time you do that, you'll know that that's that play. So we actually created our own couple fake versions of that play, because that's the other thing that's a little bit different in the video game world. Sometimes, you'll see a play on film out of a formation, and a team will use that on a fairly consistent basis. Well, they may only show a couple things, so we obviously can put those plays in, but we have to sort of start to take some creative liberties, if you will, to sort of think about, okay, well, they ran this deal here, but they probably have some type of other thing off of that. Even though they didn't show it on film, or they may not have it at all, I don't know. But we have to sort of take that into consideration in the Madden game, because if you friend, for example, if you're playing Pete, I believe, if you guys are sitting on the couch and you call that play and he sees all that action, oh, okay, yeah, I know you're running Philly special. But if he sees that same action and then, oh, it's a fake Philly special or something like that, well, that sort of keeps him on his toes. So that's something that in the Madden world that we have to actually also take into consideration.
So real quickly, it will be called Philly special. Like, I'll be able to call Philly special. I get down on the goal line.
Actually, a funny story. Yes, and that's the way the animate name Philly in the formation. The formation it's under the pistol formation, but the set is called Philly. And then when you look at the play, it's called Philly special, and the other play is called fake Philly special.
Nice.
Now, the funny thing about it, I was actually asking my boss, who's a former NFL offensive lineman. I was like, hey, well, a couple other teams ran this. A couple copycats popped up in the league last year. I know week 17. I'm not sure if it was Philly special week that week, but the Dolphins ran it. I think the Falcons ran it. So I was like, hey, well, what do we call it? Do we call it Miami special? Do we call it, I know the Browns ran it. Do we call it Cleveland special in their playbook? So we're actually just going to leave it Philly, even if we put it in other teams' playbook.
All right, so you heard it there from the man himself. Very excited. I think on May 23rd, they're going to go even deeper and touch on like more trick plays of other specific, concepts that we see from other playbooks and other teams. Really excited to hear what else they got. But now I'm going to cut to another clip where he goes a little bit more in depth about the RPOs, how they're going to work in Madden, the counters and things that they put in place for it and things like that.
What are some of the new wrinkles that you can share, things that are going to be new about the game this year that you're excited to see for Madden 20?
Well, some of the things we can share, and we've already released this info. The fact that we're adding RPOs to Madden 20, and I can tell you, obviously, because I was the product owner on that particular project, the RPOs that was heavily influenced by the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. And the thing about the play is those types of concepts. It's not necessarily the fact that we didn't want to do it or, we couldn't do it, but plays of that nature, they take time from a design standpoint, AI standpoint, animation standpoint, all of those things that we talked about earlier. So we don't really want to rush something out the door that falls way short of user expectations. So, obviously, we have to take our time and make sure that we got it right, but I'm truly excited about it.
So my last question for you, because that's phenomenal, is going back to the RPOs. Can you take us through it? I don't know how deep you can get into it, but can you take us through what is that execution like in the game? What is the user experience like for the player when they're executing an RPO? Because I find that to be fascinating. Do you have like first level, second level, third level RPOs where they're reading DBs and linebackers or D linemen, or is it how deep do you get into the weeds there?
Yeah, we have all of it.
That's awesome.
And obviously we have some news coming out on this. We have a stream coming out May 24th, I believe. We're going to be talking about RPOs and playbooks. We're going to be going in much depth. But in terms of the actual play, all the things that you talked about are there in terms of the types of RPOs that you can run. Like if you look at the NFL, the main one that teams run is where we're reading that backside backer and we lock the tackle on to that DN, and we read that backside B gap player, and we can see obviously he hesitates. We're going to hand the ball off. If he fits the run, we're going to pop that what we call peak concept, peak pass behind him. So that's probably the most prevalent one that you'll see. But we also too have the ability to run the triple option version of where you'll be able to read the DN, and then you'll progress to the next read where you'll be able to pass off the force defender to either like a bubble screen or a quick screen outside. And then, of course, even under center, the old now screen stuff, where if you're like line up in the I formation straight up power O or outside zone, inside zone, or whatever scheme you got going on there, you'll be able to throw the smoke screen backside and, really just snap the ball and, icons for the receiver comes up and you throw, and the quarterback, just like in real life, he's going to grip it and rip it, So, we try to make sure that we have all those bases covered in terms of the types of RPOs that you'll be able to have access to and go from there. And, I've actually had a couple of my colleagues mention, hey, I don't think I'm going to call any other play but an RPO. But obviously, I tell them, oh, yeah, you're probably still going to want to mix in some other stuff because even in the NFL, they do mix in other things. And, of course, we've also did a lot of tuning with our defensive AI to make sure that they can react to those plays appropriately.
So that's it, guys. Very exciting news for Madden 20 gameplay. Let me know how you feel about this below. Definitely make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so that you don't miss any of this Madden 20 news that I'm dropping on a daily basis, especially this coming Thursday when we get the deep dive on all of the gameplay info. Definitely look to see you guys here. And as always, I will see you next time.